Today, we're gonna focus on a different marketing use case, which is paid media and specifically Google Ads. And that's why I'm very happy to welcome Nick Christensen, who is also an OG CXL instructor and the head of marketing at AppSumo. Nick, thanks a lot for taking the time to share some of the workflows you've been working on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tarek. And great to be back again on the CXL main stage. The course was amazing that did a couple of years ago, and excited to share some of the n8n workflows that we've been building at AppSumo. So love to hear. Yeah, Phil asked, where is everybody calling in from? I would love to see as well. We got a couple international people here. Mordor, okay, yeah, calling in from Middle Earth. I see Mark, nice. Yeah, post in the chat where you're calling in from. Would love to see it. Glad to be here. London, nice, nice.
Yeah, we have Mexico, Germany, India, like all over, which is super cool. Valencia, Spain.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tarek, and excited to get into this. Well, this is a topic for me that is especially exciting within ads, paid media, as Tarek mentioned, the entire world of paid media I've been in for about 15 years. Been at AppSumo for about 9 years, running performance marketing and started as the sixth employee. Now we've grown quite a bit, and ads has always been there for us. And for me, a lot of the reporting and the analytics side has been very interesting. It's also been very manual up until this point, right? The last couple of months have really been very transformational for me as a marketer, but also just for our team at AppSumo and how we are looking at data. And AI for me in marketing, a great use case for it is big data. When you have a lot of different data points coming in, like in paid media, you have spend metrics, you have conversion rate metrics, you have ad creative, click-through rate. All of that is perfect use case for AI to come in, to combine all of this data together, to make sense of it, and then tell you what to do, to recommend a decision for you so you can move faster. You don't have to involve your business intelligence team or your analytics team, or maybe you don't have an analytics team. This is for you. If you're in any kind of paid media, today we're going to be talking about Google Ads specifically, like Tarek said, but if you're not running Google Ads, if you're doing Meta or if you're doing LinkedIn or TikTok or YouTube ads, whatever it is, this is going to be something that will be valuable for you. So I'm really excited to get into it. And before we get into the slides, I just wanted to share quickly my screen here on the n8n workflow that I built, and then we'll go into the specifics of what all of these crossed wires mean. So this is the PPC campaign intelligence system that I built. This is live running for AppSumo. It is a daily check here where it runs all of these different data points from the looker data that AppSumo collects to all of the deal specific CVR metrics to Google Merchant Center, the shopping content, which AppSumo has about 300 products in our store. And so we kind of operate like an e-commerce store. So all of these things kind of coming together to then actually provide me with data that is interesting. And then one other side flow here is an anomaly checker here that we're going to go into in a little bit. So let's dive in here. Like I said, n8n for Google Ads. Anybody who is running any kind of paid media, I think this is going to be interesting for automation, testing, insights, and really what we're talking about is what do you do with those insights, the optimizations, the decisions that you make from it. So we're going to cover the financial truth. So touched on this a little bit in the workflow itself. So where is the data coming from? We have Google Ads reported data. You have data coming from your own reporting platforms. So internal first-party metrics. What's up, Mike from Chicago? And then maybe you have third-party analytics tools. So a lot of those have APIs that we're going to get into as well. The data pipeline. So how do you connect it all together to really get to the real revenue and profit? The decision layer. So what is the AI decision layer that is actually going to spit out the recommendations that's going to let you optimize or change something about your marketing? And then the feedback loops. how are you using this to work faster, to work smarter, or in a different way than you're currently working with your data and analytics right now? So first is the financial truth layer. I'm a big believer in not ever trusting one source of data. And that's why I'm so bullish on n8n right now. Is there are multiple different ways to report on whatever ad platform or whatever paid media channel that you're in, and not one of them is going to ever match. The one on the left is Google Ads. This is an actual time period of conversion value and the cost that Google Ads is reporting. 541,000 on a $64,000 cost. Pretty good ROAS right there. The one on the right is our internal data. This is from Looker, captured from first-party data that we use UTMs through the URLs that we're sending from Google Ads to then match up with the actual revenue data and conversions tracked on our backend. These numbers are very different. Same spend reported on both sides, 64,000, but 130, 120 something thousand dollars in difference. So why? Why are these two things different? Well, our own data is reported by us. The one on the left is reported by Google. Most ad platforms are going to have long attribution windows. They're going to have a mixture of view and click-through attribution, meaning that if you see an ad on Instagram, for example, and you don't click on it, did you know you're still paying for that ad? That's an impression. That's a view. And then if you go and convert, Meta and Google on view-throughs will report that back as a conversion. But do you as a marketer think about that as that person was 100% influenced by that ad and there was no other source involved in it and they should get 100% credit? I don't. And that's why when you look at the attribution windows, those are not something that is a bad thing. You can have a 30-day attribution window and get a really good picture of what's happening in your ad account and how people are interacting with your ads from start to finish, from first view to maybe last conversion or last click purchase. But for me, that's not the source of truth. That's not how I'm going to report and make decisions to internal team, to leadership. And like I said, I'm not also going to take our own data as the only source of truth, because both sources have merit to them. For us specifically, we report on last click profit from all of our performance marketing sources. And so I want to make sure that the ad campaigns that I'm running are actually being optimized on the profit numbers that I am seeing on our backend. So sometimes those numbers can vary even more widely than you're seeing here. One campaign can look amazing in Google Ads, and when you look at it from a last click perspective, it looks terrible on your internal metrics. And so what I want to do is align those two things together and say, I want to make decisions based on this profit data that I'm getting internally. Now, you can do that by manually looking at your profit and saying, hey, I want to optimize this. You can do that by offline conversions, by importing into Google Ads what happened every single day in your own business. But for me, I want to be able to look at a mixture of all of this data together every single day and make decisions on my own with my ads team on what we should be doing based on real data that is tied to our profit. And that's where this decision layer comes in. So for me, this is one example, and I'm sure many of you out there have a lot of these different analytics platforms. Maybe you're using Northbeam or Triple Whale or GA4 or whatever it is, and they're all seeing different numbers. Well, this is really where you can connect all the data together, and you don't have to take one as the single source of truth. You should be looking at all of them together and then making a decision on your own, because I think performance marketing, especially Google Ads, is both an art and a science, right? The science is the data part of it, but there is an art to it where you need to be looking at all these different data metrics together to say, okay, now I'm going to make a decision to invest in this campaign, maybe even though the profit to spend is very low, but I know that this deal is doing really well or this product is doing well, and so I want to invest in it more, right? That's where the art and the science kind of cross over. Um, cool. So mentioned this a little bit already. What are we actually measuring here? Well, I want to connect the action that I'm taking on the campaigns from Google Ads to driving bottom line profit for my business. It's a very simple concept, but I think this gets lost in a lot of performance marketers when they are accepting ROAS numbers from in platform as the only truth, and they're not double or triple checking on other performance channels or other analytics channels and tools on what is real revenue and what is real profit, and then making decisions based on that. First party data, I think, is really important here. However you collect it, we collect it through our own internal tools. We store it in our Snowflake database, and then from Snowflake we pull it out into Looker to visualize it, also into Tableau, and then raw data comes out of Snowflake that I'm going to show you here in a little bit that goes into my n8n workflow as well. So we are collecting this data. We are the first party. A third party would be somebody else collecting this data for you and then reporting it back to you. That would be in platform. That's something that I would never trust alone as a third party metric. I always want to combine the first party with the third party metrics. And there are other ways to collect first party data beyond just building your own tools. There are other platforms out there that let you do this. But it's not about the platform. It's more about not trusting the person that is taking your dollars to report back how many dollars you should spend. I think it's making your own decisions and coming up with your own source of truth. And this is really where this workflow is going to come into play. So without this layer, without understanding where the data is coming from, then it's difficult to build a solid foundation to which you do accurate reporting. I saw someone raise their hand a little bit there. I know we're collecting questions here and we're going to be answering them at the end. You can also throw them into the chat if it's something that you want answered quickly. I'm looking at the chat right now, so I can answer those too. So the gap here that we're talking about, we already mentioned, and I don't need to kind of belabor this point, is that the ad platforms show one thing: your business runs on profit. Those two things are sometimes the same, but not always. You could be spending money in platform and your ROAS looks really good, but the business is flat. A lot of times, in Google especially, cannibalization is a very big factor. Google is more of a mid to bottom of funnel channel. Google search is the biggest element within Google Ads, the biggest asset group or placement, let's say. And someone is searching for something. They could be searching for social media scheduling software or the best B2B AI marketing course, right? The intent is very high. So you're very bottom of funnel. Well, that means that other channels that are competing for the same attention are potentially getting overridden by these Google Ads that you're paying for. It could be email traffic, affiliate traffic, influencer, referral, whatever the channel. This is bottom of funnel. And so cannibalization for me is always a really big concern when I'm looking at optimizing Google Ads. And that's why getting correct data and getting the financial truth foundation is so important for me, because if Google Ads is saying, hey, this is really profitable, this one campaign is really profitable, and your business is either flat or going down, you could say, what's going on? Well, Google could just be stealing clicks from another channel. And so the spend is not actually incremental. Brand search is a really big thing here. If you have big brand search terms or big brand search volume, and you're aggressively bidding on your own terms, and doing a lot of other performance marketing and other channels, this is a common thing that we see of like you're spending a lot of money on Google, but it's not actually incremental. You're not actually getting a lot more for it. And so Google is saying one thing, but the business runs on another thing. It doesn't run on what Google tells you. It runs on dollars, profit, money in and money out. So that's why ROAS within platform is not always the truth, and sometimes it is, but something that you can't trust to make big business decisions every single day. One quick question here. There's a lot of code blocks. Yes, I'm going to get into that. It was a mixture of writing them myself, so wiring them, which I think is important to understand, and Claude Code. Um, this is something that is a massive unlock and a slightly different topic on agents to creating workflows like this is working with Claude Code. I've also worked with OpenClaw as well, which runs on Sonnet too, so within the same Claude kind of platform there. But working with agents to describe your problems and all of the channels is a great way to build workflows quickly. And then I would really encourage you to understand how to do it yourself so you can diagnose problems and you can get in there and actually see if this thing is delivering what the agent is telling you that it is delivering. But amazing way to debug, amazing way to get started. I just wouldn't ship 100% of what the agent spits out. And this is true for anything, I think, in code, writing code or building websites as well. So big unlock there is using agents to do this. Cool. Keep the questions coming. Great question, Hubert. Great. Yeah. And the profit for your business is the actual truth. So how do you get there? So core metrics here that we have coming in to the workflow is spend from Google Ads, gross profit coming from our own first party business metrics, profit to spend ratios, which is a mixture of the profit that you are seeing in your business and with us reporting internally from the UTM that we're capturing from Google Ads back to the spend that is reported within within your platform. So profit to spend ratio for me is one of the best metrics that you can optimize towards as a performance marketer. It is something that you can do within the day, within the week, and say a profit to spend ratio for us, it is a 1.5 to 1 for Google. For Meta, it's lower. It's at a 0.5 to 1 because it's more of a top of funnel channel. Google is more bottom of funnel, like I mentioned. And so your conversion rate is just going to be higher. You're going to capture more existing audience that have maybe purchased from you before or have visited your website. And so the profit to spend ratio for me is the first part of the ultimate metric, which is the CAC to LTV ratio. It's the same thing that you're measuring. CAC is customer acquisition cost, how much it took to get this customer in the door. And LTV is your lifetime value measured in profit. And for us, we have a break-even point of 3 months as our goal for performance marketing. Some channels convert a lot faster, some a lot slower. But the entire performance marketing, my entire budget is measured on a 3-month CAC to LTV ratio, meaning that I have to break even in 3 months. If it took $100 to get this customer in the door, meaning that the acquisition cost in Google on a specific campaign to acquire a new customer was $100, in 3 months, I have to get that same $100 back into the bank account in profit. That's a lot of people mess that up. LTV is not measured in revenue, in gross sales. It's measured in profit because you have to take out refunds, chargebacks, COGS, partner payouts, and everything else that goes into running a business and then get a true LTV. Now, the LTV, a total LTV of a customer could be 18 months or 24 months. That's too long to wait, in my opinion. You have to look more at specific metrics that are going to run your business in a way that is not going to acquire too much risk, but at the same time you can get very aggressive because you're comfortable with this profit to spend or CAC to LTV ratio. Now, the profit to spend is within a day or within a week. So this week we spent this much, we got this much. That's a total profit to spend on this channel. So it's not by customer. And so that profit to spend is either good or bad. It's either over 1.5 or under, and we can keep spending. Then the actual number that I'm looking at for success long-term is that CAC to LTV break-even point, and something I would really encourage everybody to get to. And it's very easy to do if you have the right analytics platforms. And again, with an n8n workflow to marry those two things together and then report back to you what happened. You shouldn't be chasing down the data. I really believe this in this era of AI agents and workflows like n8n. If you're spending too much time chasing analytics or attribution or building reports or dashboards, something I'm going to talk about later, you're wasting your time. Your job is not to build dashboards. Your job is to make money for the company. And you do that through really good performance marketing, good creative, good copy, strict goals on how you're spending, guardrails on how you're spending your money, and getting aggressive with your testing. Now that's a whole other webinar on how to do it properly. This one is more on the analytics side. Um, but these are just some of the core metrics that are going into the dashboard that I am reporting on, that I am responsible for. Yours could be very different. AppSumo, like I said, we operate like an e-commerce business. We do have a subscription called AppSumo Plus that is a yearly membership. So there is a ARR, I guess, part of this, but our real numbers are measured on people coming in and buying a software deal, which are very limited time deals, only 60 days, and then they either come back or they don't. So after they purchase one time, they're considered an existing buyer. If they've never purchased from us, then they're considered a new buyer. My job, and I think the job of all performance marketers really, is to expand the pie of your customer base. And that for me is acquisition. The email, the rest of marketing's job, the email side, maybe the support side, the content side, they could be responsible for retention, so getting them to repurchase. But the primary job of performance marketers, I think, is expanding the pie, and that for me is new buyers, and that could look very different depending on the business model. But that's really acquisition cost. After they've bought from you one time, they are not an acquisition anymore. You're just bringing them back to the website. Now, it can be very difficult to bring them back if it's a very high AOV kind of business where your products are very expensive. Maybe you're a one and doneer. It could be a mattress. You only need those one in every 10 years or 5 years, let's say. And so your acquisition cost might be very high, but your AOV is also very high, right? These unit economics will change based on the business. For us, our AOV hovers anywhere from $100 to $120, and acquisition costs, like I said, could be 3 times that. But to get that money back, I have to wait 3 months, right? That's where this acquisition cost to profit to spend ratio metrics come into play here. I'll keep it moving. So yeah, that is the goal. Define what truth is for you, what metrics in your business matter the most, where those metrics are coming from, like I said, which tools, and then what do you do from there? Be curious on your business. How are you currently monitoring your ad spend? I would love to hear it in the chat here. If you are running ads, Google Ads, Meta, whatever it is, are you looking at your ad spend daily? Do you have an agency that's managing this for you, or a contractor looking at it weekly, ad hoc? If you have any thoughts or feedback on how you are doing this, I would love to know in the chat. And if you're using an n8n workflow or any kind of automation, I would love to hear that too. Cool. Now let's get into the actual data. So I mentioned the different metrics. Weekly, Anna, cool. Yeah, exactly. Different from B2B. AppSumo almost operates like B2C. In that we are kind of doing things marketing led as opposed to sales led. Exactly. And it's more of a snap purchase. They don't spend as much time. So good question or good feedback. So here are some of the data from what the APIs are pulling into my workflow. So on the left-hand side here, this is an example output directly from Google Ads that uses an AI layer for forecasting. So this is one source of truth. This is one part of the truth, which is coming directly from Google Ads, saying this was the spend, this was the average spend last 3 days, this is the forecasted, and this is conversion value reported by Google Ads. Again, we're going to get into how I am marrying that with data on the right-hand side, which is a join node within the workflow, which takes some of this data and some of the data from Looker, as you can see on the bottom, some of the gross sales and gross profit from Looker within these date ranges, and then the campaign data, which we'll get into in a little bit here at the bottom, going specifically into the campaigns that are spending and then the total account that is spending. So these are 2 nodes working together that one node has one set of data, the other has another. There is a combine or a merge node, they call it, within n8n that can merge all of that data together, and then an AI layer that can make sense of it. Cool. Philip saying doing a lot, daily, weekly, monthly, mostly in Looker. Awesome. Looker is amazing to start with n8n if you're using it because um, it's very easy to get that data out of Looker and into n8n if you're building some of these. Farad is asking, or SaaS company and track conversions on lead based on first touch in our CRM. However, Google campaigns use DDA. What would you suggest for our case? Understand ROI of campaigns. That's a very good question. Let's go into the deeper questions at the end here. So more specific to each one of your businesses, but keep that question Farad. That's a great one. So going back to this, calculating true profit per channel, marrying two sets of data. And like I said, there are probably 4 or 5 sets of data that I'm pulling in. This is an example of how I'm pulling in one from Google Ads, one from Looker, merge them together, and this is one of the outputs here. And once you have this, this is really where I think that the true power of n8n comes in because the AI layers that they have are I think way better than you could do. Like automation has been around for a long time. Like I'm sure you guys have used Zapier, but n8n does it in a way where you can add in AI layers to then make sense of the data and then push it directly to Slack like we do. Cool. So next here is, whoops, what actually happens after this last slide. So this is an example of the nodes that are collecting the data, a merge node that is combining the data. There are AI layers that are nodes that are making sense of the data. And this is one of the outputs in Slack. And I'll grade out the numbers here, but this is a daily output from the top line metrics in this one. And this is one part of the Slack message. We'll go into the others that that we also use here at AppSumo, but basically spend, sales, profit to spend ratio with the goal for that day, acquisition costs, and then month to date, same metrics, and then yesterday top campaigns by spend. This is a very quick snapshot that I think everybody should get at least here. You know, without, this is not using any AI. This is not using any kind of reasoning to then make decisions on the spend. This is just like in Slack every single day. Do you know how much you spent and do you know how much you got for it? And a lot of times, if you're just in platform and you're not really looking at business metrics, I think that you kind of operate in your own world. And I see that a lot with performance marketers is they kind of get lost in the in-platform metrics and they're not really in tune with what's happening in the business. Or oftentimes, you know, at AppSumo and at CXL, if you're measuring your true business metrics in one platform, and let's say the GM or the president or the CEO are looking in one platform and you're only looking in Google Ads and you're saying, hey, we did all these things, and they're saying something, seeing something very different. Like I mentioned earlier, ROAS is not profit. And so that's a weakness that I see a lot of performance marketers falling into, is that they are not very in tune with what's happening in the business. And a simple n8n workflow with is just 2 nodes, a merge node and a Slack node, doesn't have to be that complex, can get you here, which is what analytics platform or source of truth is your CEO looking at, and what are you looking at in Google Ads? That's all this is. And then the profit to spend ratio is what I look at. And we set it, like I said, by day and by week in goals of how much money did we make yesterday from Google Ads and what it was the spend. That's it. And if it's below 1.5, then it's an immediate flag for me to be like, hey, something happened. Okay, now I'll go deeper. Now I'll go into the analytics platforms, or we'll go into the other Slack notifications that I get on what do we do about it. But I think getting to this point is kind of the fundamental. It's kind of the stage one of where you can then go to make decisions. Is do you actually know what is happening in the business? Cool. So now actually building the pipeline here. So for us, n8n connects through APIs in Google Ads, in Meta, all the other tools that we're using within our database, within Looker, and even in Google Sheets. If you have data there, it's also something really easy that you can pull in that is native to n8n in their nodes. The data gets joined together with real revenue. And again, this could be within Shopify, it could be Stripe, it could be internal database. Doesn't really matter what it is. A lot of these platforms will have APIs for you to use or native integrations within n8n. Um, and then the output is what is the actual acquisition cost and profit by channel, so you're not guessing and constantly building dashboards to try to find the truth. JC asks here, for e-commerce, would n8n also provide information on profitable scaling margin? Absolutely. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Of all of the different business metrics, they live somewhere for you. Your margin lives somewhere. Your operating costs, the acquisition cost is just one line item that for me makes up the all-in CAC, the all-in acquisition cost of like the entire team. What did they cost along with the spend from Google Ads to get you to this point? And that is getting closer into margin or gross margin that at AppSumo we track as net operating income. That those numbers live somewhere. You can feed anything into this to make decisions. And if you know, hey, I'm really heavy staffed on Google Ads, and so my OpEx is really high over there, and that's really my main channel, I want to factor that into my margin with the spend and with the profit coming from this channel. That's a great use case for this, and a way that maybe before would be very manual for you to do, or maybe you're not even adding it up. You're not even connecting the dots of a campaign spend to your margin for that day. And now you can and should be doing this on a daily basis, and something that should be automated. Cool. Great. So 11:35 here. We're going till noon. We want to leave maybe probably 10, 15 minutes for questions. So I'll go another 10 minutes here. So like I mentioned, the difference here, and for me, this happened, like I said, pretty recently in the last 6 to 8 months, where I was building dashboards within Looker. We also use Metabase. I was manually going in and trying to write SQL or working with my BI team to do this. And now I just use APIs or native integrations with n8n, and everything of my reporting, I would say 80% of my reporting within performance marketing is completely automated. It's either delivering in Slack, in email, or the second piece of this that some of you may have played around with is Google Ads MCP, which is basically just a connector from Claude Code, which is where my agent lives, and Google Ads. I'm going to show you our dashboard, which I actually got from the head of growth at Anthropic, and basically how I use both of those two things together to make decisions. But n8n is more of the automation part that's pulling in all of these different sources of data, making sense of it so I can make a decision. The MCP side, the Google Ads MCP, is pulling in from Claude Code and delivering a weekly report to me. That is some crossover, and CXL actually has some courses coming up about this that you should check out on AI agents. But there is some crossover, but also some differences. I think both are really powerful together. So yeah, used to be static and now it's in real time. I'm not waiting for anything anymore. I'm not waiting for my agency to tell me, hey, this happened or this happened. I'm not waiting on BI to send me a report anymore. I'm not building these manually and hoping that, next week we can make some optimizations. Performance marketing is real time. You're spending money 24/7, and I think the reporting should match that. So mentioned this a little bit already. These are some of the input sources that we have. So Google Ads API, campaign product data that is coming from a mixture of sources from our own, and then also Merchant Center. If you have an e-commerce store or you have a bunch of different products like us, Merchant Center data is really valuable as well. And then if you are using Shopify or any kind of other historical tracking that you have, you can upload all of this into n8n. The screenshot below here is Google Ads Merchant Center manager account. Sorry, not Merchant Center. It's the manager account. They call it the Google MCC. And this is really the place that you grab this developer token where this API integration is going to live. So you have to apply for basic access. You start with Explorer access, and that allows you with basic access. It's an application that is very easy to fill out. You can ask your whatever agent or LLM you use to help you with this, to fill out and get access to the ads API, meaning that from n8n, you can pull out this data directly. So it's completely automated. And I'm kind of surprised they don't give it to you for any ad account, maybe that's spending a threshold of money, but I think they do it so you don't abuse their API or overuse it. The basic access gives you everything from Google Ads. And one interesting thing that I haven't talked about yet is change history within Google Ads. This is something that is really interesting, and has been a big unlock for me. Or if you're using an agency or you're not actually managing the campaigns, like I'm not the one pressing the buttons in these campaigns. An agency is doing this, but with this basic access and the Google Ads API and n8n, you can track everything that they're doing through the change history. Every change that is made in any ad platform, but specifically we're talking about Google Ads, in change history is logged. The exact keyword that they added, the bid change, the bid strategy, the asset group, the creative, whatever it is, every single change is logged. And I'm going to show you an interesting Slack output that I get every day that grades the performance of my agency, what exactly that they did and how it affected profit of the business. Thanks, JC, for the positive affirmation there. But this is the screen that you need to go to in your manager account. It's separate from your Google Ads account, by the way. It's called the Google MCC or manager account that you need to go in and request basic access. That is the API access to pull the data out of Google Ads and then put it wherever. For me, n8n is a perfect place to do it because it's real time and it's constantly working through this automation and then delivering the real time data from Google Ads, matching it up to the profit data, and then spitting it out in Slack for me. So the transformation layer I touched on a little bit earlier. Some of you have worked with ETL tools in the past, the extraction, transformation, and loading of data. This is all done within one workflow now. You don't need something to stitch together all of this data. This is the powerful part that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that normalizing this data used to take a business intelligence team and 3 tools to do. Now, one tool with the right API access that I mentioned on the last slide can pull out the data, normalize it for you, connect everything together, and then say to you, this is what you should do, or this is a recommendation of what you should do. Joining all of these data sets together for me was really where I kind of had that aha moment within this workflow of this is really powerful and something that I wasn't getting from previous workflows in the past. So this is one of the nodes that I talked about a little bit earlier too, that merges, it combines all of these things together. You can see on the left-hand side the output data from both inputs merged together. So this is 2 inputs coming together. You can merge 4 inputs, 5 inputs together, all of this data, and use an AI layer to say, if I have all this data together now, can you help me make sense of it? Can you help me normalize it? And like I said, that used to be a separate tool in the past. Now it's just a really powerful model, like Sonnet or whatever LLM you're using. So super powerful transformation layer that now is done all within the workflow. Cool. So architecture overview, you saw this in the actual n8n workflow earlier, but I have a schedule. So every day it runs. Like I said, for me, this is real time. You could do twice a day or 3 times a day. The reporting is lagged. In some accounts, it could be lagged 7 days, 30 days if you have a very long sales cycle. For us, it's not lagged too much because, like I mentioned earlier, Nana, you brought this up. It's a snap purchase. It's a lot faster, and so our lag is a lot less. And so I can do this daily. It fetches all this data, processes it, normalizes it, merges it, and then the output is all delivered to me in Slack. For me, that's how I like to work. I don't like to look at another dashboard. I don't like to add another tool where it's not needed. I'm in Slack every single day. That's where I want this data. Yours could be different. It could be email. It could be text. It could be WhatsApp. Wherever you work, that's where you should be looking at the data and making decisions. You don't need a spreadsheet anymore. You just don't. All of this just can come from n8n and delivered wherever you are. Um, JC asked, could you do this for catalog products or single products? Yes, that's what I mentioned earlier of Google Merchant Center. So if you're advertising right now and you have a merchant center, a catalog of products, I think that's what you're asking. If not, you can clarify. But all of that is amazing data to put into a workflow because it's separate from Google Ads. Google Ads is serving you in shopping ads or shopping placements that are coming from the Merchant Center, but the Merchant Center is a completely different platform. They have their own reporting on the number of clicks that came specifically from your product catalog ads and which creative was served. Because when you're serving from Merchant Center, you don't get to decide the creative. It comes in one SKU card, like any kind of shopping product image, and then they serve it in all of their different placements. It could be within the shopping feed. It could be within a display site. If you're using a Performance Max campaign, you don't get to decide that. And so within Merchant Center, you can see all of this data, and it's a lot more raw data that you're looking at by product type, right? In Google Ads, you're not really looking at it by product type. You're looking at it by campaign type. One campaign could be advertising multiple products. For us at AppSumo, we do a mixture of Performance Max, which is like you have placements across display. So the Google Display Network, you have placements on YouTube, you have placements on search, their partner networks. And then we have dedicated search campaigns that are for a specific product. Well, Merchant Center only looks at the products, the catalog that you have. Exactly. It was a game changer for me as well. You can look at all of those specific products and pipe that into your workflow here. So this is an example branch of the workflow that you saw earlier that's pulling in from the Looker raw export, the sheet that is pulling from our database for first party data. And then right below it is the Merchant Center data. And so the way that they report could be slightly different. And so I want to see a full picture. That's what I'm trying to get to here. I don't really care about the tech. I want to see the full picture of all of my data coming together and then what I need to know to make a decision. And I thought that's more of an executive level dashboard view without using a dashboard. It's just serving the data to you in for me in Slack. Cool. Let's keep moving. 11:45 now. I think let's go for 5 more minutes. So I'll speed through the rest of this here, and then we'll get to questions. So the daily Slack message replaces the dashboards, like I mentioned. That's how I work. You could work differently. You could not use Slack. You could use Microsoft Teams. You could not use any messaging platform at all. You could text. You could WhatsApp. You could email. All of this is available to you to push all of this output to. So this is what I mentioned earlier. This is the change log. This is something that, with basic access to Google Ads API, is a really interesting point. And I'm working with a couple other founders on this right now that I'm building this for them. And basically, what this is showing on the right is what the agency did and graded by my agent. So the LLM layer, and then what my agent would have done. And this is getting closer to the agents just running everything. But for right now, I don't think possible. There's an art and a science to this where the raw data is not the only thing that you're making decisions off of. But this, for me, that I get every single day is a grade on everything that the agency did yesterday that is logged in change history in Google Ads and then graded by the LLM layer, by my agent. And sometimes they're right, what the agent would have done. Sometimes I'm like, dude, this is completely wrong. We're doing this for a strategic reason, for whatever this is or that is. But this, for me, every single day that I can look at in 30 seconds, understand what the agency did, and then is that the right or the wrong thing? Mark, you said if you have big volumes of conversions, is it realistic to manage such that? Yeah, we have hundreds of thousands of conversions. The conversion, the data, like I said, is not the problem. The AI can handle millions of, billions of rows of data almost instantaneously, and then merge it all together, summarize it for you. The size of the data is not the issue here, and it's really what you're going to do with it, like what the decision that you're going to make from it. And this is one of those decisions of the data that's coming in from Google Ads API is the change history. The change history is what the agency or your Google Ads manager, or if you're managing it, what you did. You can even grade yourself. If you're doing this yourself, you can pull this out of Google Ads through the API into n8n, marry it with your profit data, and then say, hey, how did I do yesterday? How did I do last week? And then it can help you. If you're not managing it, like I'm not in the weeds every single day. I don't know what the agency is doing. I really don't. It's kind of like a mechanic. I have no idea if my car is broken, what this mechanic is actually doing or how much they're charging. Well, this is a way to get to the layer of truth of what is actually happening and how it's affecting your business. So super powerful. Quick KPI summary. We mentioned a lot of this already. One thing that we didn't touch on is the acquisition cost and AOV trends. This is pulling in from Meta. Again, we're talking about Google Ads. This is pulling in a separate dashboard, but same data set that is working through n8n. A lot of different ways to spin it here, and then also measuring this against what, previous 30 days. Did it go up or down? Am I doing good? Am I doing bad? You should be able to answer that on an hourly basis, especially a good performance marketer. Every single day, are you doing good or bad? There's no hiding behind the numbers. There's no gray area here. And I think this is what I'm trying to get to with these KPI summaries. Amaya said, how do you manage quarterly and yearly reports without a dashboard? There are dashboards. I am looking at them. I'm just not looking at them every single day like I am with these n8n workflows or the output of it in Slack. So for sure, I'm still going into Looker. I'm still going into Metabase. I'm still going into all these third-party tools, but I'm not spending every day in them, and I don't think you should either. So another one that is part of this Slack output is the campaign grade. So this is within Google Ads, not within Merchant Center or not within Looker. This is what did I spend? The profit from Looker matched to it, the profit to spend ratio, and then what is the flag here? What should I know? This is really where the decisions come into play here. Top two, top three, or top three, bottom three campaigns based on your specific goals. Ours is profit spend ratio. I mentioned 1.5. These two campaigns sitting well above it. We need to spend more. These two sitting well below it. We need to either pause or figure out what's going on here. Maybe the keywords are going too crazy. You're getting matched to irrelevant keywords, or you're spending too much on something that is very low converting product, or this specific campaign type is not working for you. You need to know that. And this is really where a black or white, or in this case, green or red, should be displayed to you every single day, and you should understand it like this. And this is very similar to the last one, pulled from a per deal basis. And this is, again, pulling from Merchant Center and Looker. How much did we spend on it? What was the conversion rate on this product? And for us, conversion rate is really where we drive a lot of the spend decisions. Did I spend in the right places? If I'm spending to a low converting deal, that should be red. It should be overfunded. If I'm underspending to a deal that has super high conversion rate, that's underfunded. I need to spend more. This is one layer of this Slack message I get every day that is really where this decision happens. And for me, one of the most important ones, because this is what the business is looking at. They're looking at conversion rates on the deal side, on the product side. They're not looking at Google Ads conversion rates. And this is really where those two things come together. So one example, you see a CPA spike or a CAC spike on Tuesday morning, and you're getting a Slack report midday. You're able to react to it and actually change something. Before, I would have to go work with my BI team, look at a dashboard, and maybe not even get to it until the end of the week or next week. I think that's too late. Another thing is the threshold-based alerts. I showed the other screen earlier that had the anomaly, which is like if my spend goes above a certain amount at this point in the day, send another Slack message to say, hey, this is an anomaly detection. You should be pulling back, or you've only spent $10 today. Your budget today is $10,000. You should be spending more. Something's wrong. So those are other workflows that we have that can help you here. And again, you're not going anywhere to actually pull the report, or you're not having to ask your agency, hey, are we doing good or bad? Not pulling reports weekly. You're not analyzing manually. You're not acting too late. You're getting data instantly. It's flowing every single second into this workflow, and you can adjust the settings of how often you want to see it, and you can act immediately because you're spending real money, and you can't get that money back. So you want to be spending it in the right places. Again, we still use Looker dashboards, still use spreadsheet exports, but I'm just not looking at them every single day. Like this Data Solutions Ltd person over here, they don't look very happy. Faster iterations and reduced wasted spend. You can also report to whoever you're reporting to, your CEO or your management team, and be 100% accountable for these results. You know exactly how you're spending, and you can take screenshots, which I do all of the time, of the Slack messages and send them to Noah, who's the CEO of AppSumo, and say, "Hey, this is what happened. Here's the actual ad that worked, and this is why." So you're not in the dark. You're not searching for data. It's already there every single day for you to access in whatever way you want. So this is the end-to-end architecture here of the actual prompt that you can give to your agent, along with the steps that I took to do this. You can scan this QR code. We're going to send this link out as well. And this is basically just my workflow. This is not right for everybody, but this is how I did it. And this is the prompt that you can give your own agent within Claude Code or within Codex or whichever one you're using. And then the actual steps, the PDF that you can get from this to see how I built it. And again, not right for everybody. I think if you're doing Google Ads, the beautiful thing about this is that it is transferable. All of this stuff exists for you as well. This is not unique to me. The only thing unique to me is the analytics platforms or where the data is coming from, like Looker or maybe some other analytics tools that we're using in databases like Snowflake and things like that. But everything else you can copy directly. And I think you should, because this is super powerful. And at any spend level, if you're spending, $100,000 a day to, $100 a day, this is relevant because it's real money. And again, you can't get that money back. And this is something that you can make better decisions either for yourself, if you're managing it, or for your team or agency who's managing it for you. So that's all I got. Tarek, I'll hand it over to you, man.
Man, thanks so much for this presentation. So much insights packed into, 55 minutes. And looking at the reactions and the emojis in the chat, I think everyone agrees. Super useful and super interesting to see like how these tools are being used. Because, when you go on LinkedIn, you see all of this hype, like, hey, this replaced my team, this replaced my team. But with like what you've shared, like we got like, okay, we know what's real, we know what's hype, we know the limitations and the possibilities. And I think everyone you can see in the chat, they're saying like it was a great session. I think there's few questions in the Q&A and in the chat, but before we do that, I just want to mention to everyone that if you enjoyed this presentation by Nick, he is hosting a live course with CXL in July, covering more AI tools, not just n8n, but also Claude Code as well. Maybe Nick, you want to walk them through it quickly, what this
Yeah. I mentioned that a little bit earlier on how I'm building these workflows, and then also the Google Ads MCP is another layer to this, which we didn't really touch on, but is super powerful to basically get to a point where you're able to pull this data out. And I'll quickly share a screen here so I can just show
Yeah.
you. This is
Right.
the course, and then this is one of the things that we'll be covering in this is the report I also get weekly through Claude Code. And this is another way to splice the data, right? There's a lot of ways to do this. This is another way that for me provides a little bit more of a executive view on everything that happened. I'm not really making daily decisions off of this like I am with n8n, but I'm looking at this and able to see week over week the actual ads that are performing, and then recommended actions. Again, a lot of this will be overlapped. Maybe you only need this. Maybe you only need the n8n workflow. There are so many different ways to do this, and agents and Claude Code for me are the foundation to build all of this. Whether you're trying to do an n8n workflow or you're trying to use this Google Ads MCP, or you're trying to do something completely different. Like for me, I use Claude Code for almost everything that involves any kind of big data. So AppSumo has, we've been around for 15 years. We have hundreds of thousands of rows in our database. Our ICP changes, maybe a year to year. That's another big way that I use Claude Code to build, insights for my ICP to then do better marketing for. So this course that we have coming up, I'm really excited about. More about the agents, more specifically about Claude Code and how that foundation can build almost anything that we talked about today.
Awesome. And I would also like to mention that this course is part of 7 upcoming courses that we're launching in the upcoming few months. And each one will tackle different marketing use cases. So you can see in June, we have courses around content automation and SEO, also including Cloud Code and n8n, not just limited to n8n. In July, we have your course, of course, regarding ads and using Google MCPs. We also have another one around GTM strategy. In August, we have one around optimizing content funnels with AI, but also another cool one, which is vibe coding satellite apps to get more leads using tools like Replit and Lovable. And then for September, we have one for agencies and how they can be ready for this AI shift because obviously client expectations are changing when it comes to AI. So we have a course to help agencies prepare for that shift and be AI ready. You can get all of these courses together in a bundle for $499, all 7 of them, or you can get one separately depending on which one you see is more valuable for you for $150. So if you want to get Nick's course only, this is how much you pay. But there's so much value in getting all of them for this amount of money. Just be aware that the prices will increase after May 31st. You'll find the link of this landing page in the chat if you want to check it out, check the curriculum, and get more information. Cool. Now back to our normal programming.
I love it. I'm really excited about that one, and I'm also excited to check out some of those other courses because I'm also always learning too. Like you mentioned, people on LinkedIn, everybody's acting like they know everything. They
Yeah,
don't. Everything is changing so quickly that the
exactly.
only way to actually learn and to know is just to do it and to set up some of these workflows. And Mark, you asked this of I mentioned how I use Claude and other coding AI to create the workflow. And that's exactly what I think you should do to get started. If you're just starting with n8n or any of these tools and you're using Claude, I would recommend going into Claude Code, like downloading the actual desktop app as opposed to using the browser version of it. Download the desktop app and use Claude Code. Give it the permissions necessary. n8n has an API. Just go into the API section, pull that. I would put it into a secure place like OnePass or LastPass, whatever password vault you use, and then just tell the Claude Code agent to access that API token, and then go into n8n and just describe to your agent what you want to build. It could be this prompt exactly like in this link. Just copy and paste that and put it into the chat with Claude Code. It will go and build a variation of that, and you'll have to give it some access, obviously, of the APIs tokens that we talked about, but you can literally do this in the next 60 seconds in going into Claude Code and copying and pasting the prompt in, and it will build a live workflow for you in n8n. You can have a workflow for this. So you don't have to know coding at all. I'm not a technical person. I mentioned actually understanding what's happening. I think you should go in and actually understand what nodes are being created and where they're going. But the thing can be created very, very quickly. And that's really what's changing faster than anybody can post about it on LinkedIn. And the best way to learn it is just to do it. So I'd encourage you, Mark, to maybe take a crack at it today and let me know how it goes. I would love to hear from anybody that's building workflows in n8n or anywhere else. My email is nick@appsumo. You can shoot me an email anytime, and I would love to take a look at your workflow and maybe just jam out on anything marketing or AI automation.
Nice. And I couldn't agree more. Like the best way to learn is to try it out yourself. Like I know, like when we're preparing for these courses, we've been testing all of these tools. Like there's so many things that went wrong and what went right. But with the things that went wrong, you understand the limitations. Like for me, one of the biggest questions is like when to use n8n, when to use Cloud Code. But when I was running maybe the same tasks on both of them, you can start to understand like, okay, for this task, I will use Claude. For this one, maybe more scraping, I will use n8n. So definitely like get your hands dirty into all of this. And yeah, hopefully these courses that are upcoming will help you understand where to start and how can you test things yourself. I think all questions, at least from my end, like I see that all of them were answered. If you have more questions for Nick, he shared his email in the chat. Feel free to reach out to him. Nick, thanks so much for coming. It was really insightful.
Thank you, Tarek. One quick thing here. Frat did ask that question that Phil brought up again. I could
Oh yeah.
quickly address it. And Frat, you can feel free to email me with your specific use case. I would suggest lead-based versus conversion-based. It's a little bit more difficult. You need to be able to track lead to conversion and optimize towards the best leads. You can upload through offline conversions into Google Ads the best leads that actually converted into sales. I'd recommend doing that first and letting smart bidding optimize off of that. But again, this is maybe a bigger question. Feel free to email me. We can go deeper into it. And thank you guys so much. Thank you, Tarek, and the rest of the CXL team.
Awesome, man. Everyone, have a great day or evening, depending on where you are, and see you tomorrow.